Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is a top level game of Protoss versus Terran. Spawning here in the top right hand corner of Eternal Empire, one of the new maps that was recently added with the new ladder season in StarCraft 2. He's got the best Protoss versus Terran in the world and I think it will come in very handy. We're looking inside of the main base of Trap. His opponent in the opposite corner playing with the red Terran SCVs, likewise, just like his opponent, one of the strongest in his respective race. Playing with the red SCVs, we have none other than TY. Alrighty, so here we go. Both of these players, of course, very successful in their own rights. I personally still feel like Trap is a little bit undervalued when it comes to most viewers and players in StarCraft. I mean, all of the top-level pro gamers know how ridiculously good this guy is, but he still doesn't really seem to get the credit that he deserves. So when it comes to very difficult StarCraft 2 tournaments, right? I think we can mostly agree on the fact that the GSL Code S is the hardest tournament to win. There's a couple of reasons for that. First off, it takes place over in South Korea, which, you know, is obviously the country with, on the whole, the best players in the world. But secondly, and most importantly, the tournaments, the GSL Code S tournaments, take place over the course of 3 months. So they take about 3 months, sometimes a little bit shorter, sometimes a little bit longer, but you know for at least a few days and oftentimes a couple of weeks in advance who you're gonna be facing off against next, which means that you can study their games, you can study their replays, you can figure out their tendencies, you can come up with counter builds, and that is very, very different from for example, like your run-of-the-mill weekend tournament, right? Where you basically just prepare for all matchups in advance and you try your very best to have a really strong overall game plan. But you can't really prepare nearly as easily for specific tournaments, or for specific opponents rather. So we'll see what this game is going to look like, but there's no denying that Trap has been incredibly successful in that GSL Code S format. So in 2019, there were 3 GSL Code S's. He made it to the grand finals of 2, and he made it to the semifinals of the first one. Now, sadly for him, his PVZ is not nearly as good as his PVT, so he did end up losing to both Rogue and Dark, if I'm not mistaken, in the grand finals. But still, he's a really, really strong player, and even though he didn't win any of them, I still think he's one of the players who should be on the top of your favorites list going into 2020. He is going to go for that Twilight Council opener here. Very nice. In the meantime, though, on the other side of the map, oh, well, that one probe really wants to go in, but sadly for him, the barracks is not going to lift. Before that probe is gone. The Marine gunning it down very, very easily. Now, TY, of course, he's a player who most of you are probably very familiar with. He's been around since the very early days of StarCraft. He's been a pro gamer for pretty much his entire life. His best result for 2019 is getting a 2nd place at the GSL Super Tournament. But other than that, he's actually also, for the very first time, if I'm not mistaken, in 2019, he's been commentating the GSL tournaments. So over in South Korea, in Korean, of course, not in English, but he's been commentating those games whenever he's like eliminated or whenever he's not participating on the Korean live stream as well. So pretty cool there. Pretty sure, by the way, those broadcasts are also televised over in Korea. So TY certainly making a name for himself, going for the pro gamer retirement program. Okay, like when you're not good enough anymore, when you get too old and sluggish, that's when you start commentating games. Wait a second. Wait. Lowko, did you just roast yourself? I think I accidentally just... Well, it doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter. Actually, I was never a pro gamer. I guess I make a living talking and playing video games, so maybe I could be considered a pro gamer, but I don't win. I don't win tournaments at this level. That's for sure. No, but there's no denying, though, that TY is still amongst the very best when it comes to playing Terran. As we're making the video, actually, he is considered to be the rank 3 on Alugalek when it comes to playing with the Terran pieces. So rank 1 currently is Maru, rank 2 is actually Cure, another one of those underrated players, and then rank 3 is TY. TY, though, certainly more successful when it comes to tournaments than Cure. He's earned roughly $600,000 in prize money alone throughout the course of his career in StarCraft 2, so certainly no slouch whatsoever. A couple of Hellions already made their way across the map. I think that's why we do see this bit of a wall right over here for Trap. He did also go for the 3rd command center, or rather the 3rd Nexus right here, but he's gonna have a little bit of trouble against these Banshees. So the Banshee Cloaking Field upgrade just finished up. Second Banshee will also be flying on the map here in just a little bit. Observer actually just flew out of the robotics facility towards the southern section of the natural. And that now means that these probes indeed are going to have to run as the Stalkers group up together here. Now, a couple of Hellions also tried to move into the natural. Well, I mean, trap a little bit too good for that. Decided to actually keep one of the Stalkers behind. And now with the couple of observers available, you should be able to hold on here a lot easier. So most of the time, when you play PvT, you go for at least like 3 observers. So 1 for the main, 1 for the natural, and then also 1 for scouting purposes. And that's exactly what we see Trap going for right here as well. I've actually been playing a bunch of Protoss on the ladder myself over the last few days. For those of you that watched the live stream, you've probably seen that my PvT used to be really, really bad. I wasn't very good at playing the Protoss versus Terran matchup. However, a couple of days ago, I first started studying some proper build orders. And I've actually been playing the builds that Trap likes to play in the Protoss versus Terran matchup. And it's been going much, much better ever since. For those of you wondering, I stream on Monday through Saturday, 2 to 8 p.m. CET. Over at twitch.tv/LowkoTV, so you can go ahead and check that out as well. Link is down below in the description. But here we go. Here's TY going for a bit of an attack. Now, he did go for the quick third command center. Ooh, nice blink away there. Forcing the siege up. Maybe he wants to try and get those siege tanks right behind the rocks over here, so he can shell away over at the natural. Yeah, I think this was mostly just a little bit of aggression to try and, you know, force the Protoss to add on additional gateways and just a little bit, of additional, like, money spent, I guess, on additional gateways and army and whatnot as well. There was a third command center, however, on the back of this for TY, so he didn't really commit too much there to that aggression. Now, this is cool. He's actually adding on additional factories. So, one of the things we saw over the last couple of weeks in the Terran versus Zerg matchup is the addition of Terran Mech, right? Terran Mech, I mean, it never was really weak, but it wasn't very popular. It looks like TY, after opening up with a lot of Marines right here, also now wants to switch into Mech in this matchup. Very cool. I'm curious to see what this is going to look like. Once again, though, this is the real strength of Stalkers. Just blink away, force your opponent pinned back, and, well, just take control of the map, right? Strap actually rallying in 1 Immortal. That's a brave Immortal. Even though his name is Immortal, he's certainly not. I think you probably want to send that one back home, buddy. I don't know why it's all the way over here. But anyways, Mech has become really popular in Zerg versus Terran. We've seen especially the addition and the changes to the Thors to be extremely good. Now, earlier in 2019, we did have Maru actually opening up with a bunch of Mech as well in PvT. I kind of assumed that it was a bit of a joke from him. Oh, now this is critical. Oh. Oh, I think it was actually the Prism spotting exactly where those benches were located. A little bit of a skirmish there between both of them. People have been practicing Protoss versus Terran Mech for a little while right now as well. And with the new balance patch, I wouldn't be surprised if it's gonna be a little bit more popular. Now, a few Zealots here are loaded into that Prism. Not a lot of anti-air available. One of the tanks actually gets killed by one of the other tanks. This guy right over here, I think. Actually, it could be any of these. But this one is 1 confirmed kill. And maybe then a second one as well, which was literally his brother. A little bit sad. A little bit sad. Now, this is cool, by the way. We do have Hyperflight Rotors, which is that Banshee speed upgrade. Ooh. They do indeed activate their cloaking field right now as well. This forces a response from Protoss, who's now adding on a few of these Phoenixes. The thing about the speed upgrade is that they can just simply outfly you very easily. And if you blink twice, they can kill an entire mineral line worth. Now, that one Phoenix, though, very helpful. Even though the observers don't have their speed upgrade or anything like that yet, this is gonna buy a lot of time, right? Like, forcing a response here. Phoenixes, in general, not as useful in, like, late-game engagements. They seem to fall off the longer that the game goes. So I'm liking the situation here for TY quite a bit. He's now going up towards the 4th command center. Additional factories right now as well. Adding on 2 additional CCs right here into the main bases too. And TY is looking mighty strong here. So I'm curious to see what his late game plan is going to be. So one of the downsides of playing Mech is that Protoss has a lot of great answers, okay? So for example, these bad boys right over here, Immortals, Archons, Zealots, all of those units are incredibly good, and later on you can also transition towards Tempests and maybe even a couple of carriers, right? Protoss has a lot of good options when it comes to dealing with that maxed out Sky or that maxed out Mech army, but then also in the mid game you have a lot of good choices when it comes to Archon, Immortal, Zealot. Especially if you can get all of your Immortals to fire away. They deal bonus damage to armored, and pretty much all of the Terran Mech units are indeed armored. This is still a very cool position, though, for TY to be in, right? So, it's mostly gonna come down here to the 4th base. Denying the 4th base would be huge. Ooh, Trap actually, taking a lot of damage there on the Stalkers. Does blink away. Loses a couple, though, in the process. I think that might actually be all that TY really needs right now. He's gonna be able to leapfrog a couple of those tanks forward. Siege them a little bit closer to that command center. I'm assuming this is gonna be a planetary. I mean, it should be. There it is. And this is now gonna allow TY a beautiful anchor, a great staging ground to start attacking the Protoss from as well. So if you look at this, there's the 4th base of the Protoss, there's the 4th base of the Terran. The Protoss is ahead when it comes to that timing right there of the base, but worker-wise, TY has been grinding out those SCVs. And how are you gonna push into this? Unless you manage to get your opponent, you know, unsieged or something like that, it's very difficult to get a proper engagement going here. Very cool. We don't see that much mech, even though it is a little bit more popular. Maybe it's going to be the new standard, who knows? Okay, High Templar here are available too. They do have their Storm upgrade, so that should be very helpful. And actually, you know what? The 3rd base obviously pretty vulnerable here. Zealots are now moving over towards that mineral line. They can deal a lot of damage here. There's a couple of siege tanks. There's also a bunker, a few Widow Mines too. So I think this should be something that the Terran can indeed defend, but it's likely, yeah, it's likely gonna force this army to back off here for the time being. 8 SCVs go down, a couple of tanks get picked off as well at the cost of just a couple of Zealots. Now, you could go for like a semi-sandwich over here. It's a weird sandwich, Lowko. It's a very strange sandwich. Actually, you know what? Since Terran seems to want to go for like a really slow push, he's just going to go for the massive counterattack here instead. All of these tanks currently on siege. If he goes right now, he can actually deal a lot of damage. Oh, here we go. Yeah, a couple of these tanks are actually still on siege. That now means that the Protoss army is moving forward. High Templar in the back, though, they are much, much slower. Planetary Forge is obviously still serving as that anchor. Widow Mines are blowing up a lot of those gateway units to pieces as well, but that now means that Trap can come in with the sandwich. Planetary Fortress, though, is being repaired right now by these SCVs as well. High Templar still has energy. There you go. Nice storm. These Banshees actually being microed like absolute champions, too. They do manage to pick off that one High Templar that was left over. And even though there's a lot of Zealots warped in, these Widow Mines, they're gonna come off cooldown. Ooh, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt. Protoss players, close your eyes. That's a lot of those softened up already. Still, though, the Protoss is gonna push into the Planetary Fortress. Storm lands on all of those SCVs. And I think that this should be a broken position. The Planetary dies. And with that, Terran's army does get cleaned up. Okay, so that was critical. Very, very important. The thing is, if Terran is... he's so good. The Terran player is... if he is completely left to his own devices, right? And he can do whatever he likes on 4 bases with 8 gases. This is a very difficult game to win for the Protoss. Terran, when they're maxed out, still are at their scariest, right? And we already did see the transition towards the fusion core, towards the advanced ballistics. He wasn't gonna make the tech transition there to probably like siege tanks, stores, liberators, couple Widow Mines and all that, replacing all of those cheaper Hellions. You can't really do that without having those extra gases. So once again, by the way, command center floating over in that direction. Command center now morphing into a planetary fortress right over here on the low ground too. I'm sure that Trap prefers him to take this space rather than the one closer to his 4th as well. This is still a scary force though. Yeah, once again, without the Zealots, you can't really achieve that much. But the Zealots actually got warped in right here at that warp prism. You know what? Yeah, just go in over here. Oh, that one tank. Somehow, some way, managed to stay alive. Bless his lucky stars right there. That was beautiful. Missile turret, though. Does get the kill there on the Observer, and Trap is likely going to be forced back. Now, this is quite okay. The Banshee is still being a nuisance. Those were the Banshees from earlier, right? Yeah, there are still 4 of them available. These are very annoying, though, because if you leave them alone, they can just kill an entire mineral line worth very quickly. Yeah, so only 2 Banshees ended up going down so far. So they've got 6, 4, 7, and 2 kills. And I think a bunch of those were High Templar. Basically, they were right-clicked and shift-clicked between the High Templar. Okay, so Trap decides to go back. Now, that's a little bit scary, right? Ooh, this is nice. Here we go. This is what he was waiting for. Yep. You blink twice, that mineral line is going to be gone. That is extremely nicely done. Most of the Protoss army, meantime, in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, 14 probes, just like that. There weren't that many workers here for Protoss to begin with, so he's got to be careful. Now, there is a fleet beacon coming up, and this was scouted immediately here by Trap. So he knows that the Stargate transition here is going to be imminent. Most of the time, we do see a transition towards those Tempests. So Tempests obviously can shoot down the Liberators from a very long distance, and also those siege tanks. They have much longer air-to-air range, obviously, but maybe the Banshees will fall. Oh my god, the Banshee jukes are insane. I was gonna say, maybe the Banshees can finally be cleaned up, but that's not gonna be the case. TY, though, knows that the entire Protoss army right now is in the northern section. He's gonna try and use this time to get his siege tanks into a much better position. Now, I don't know if you want to necessarily put those liberation zones right over there, because the Protoss army is coming from the other side. Okay. This is a scary push. That base, once again, in a lot of trouble. Actually, ooh, that's important too. That's 3 of those High Templar gone instead of the War Prism. And now, actually, we see Big Daddy Thor coming up as well. Very cool. There he is. Okay, both players taking a lot of damage here. Nexus does fall. Does TY want to continue fighting here? By the way, it's going to be carriers. Okay. Very interesting to see him go for carriers here. Now, that is a little bit sloppy. Oh, well, unless he's just going to walk straight into it. Yeah, the siege tanks actually can now be sandwiched very, very easily. TY ends up losing his entire army over here. Other than, I guess, the Hellions and Cyclones that are still alive. But I've got a feeling they are also not going to be able to report back for duty. Still, though, a couple of them are actually going to town during that mineral line. Probes are falling constantly. It's now up to 48 here in total, and the mining here for the Protoss player is really not that significant anymore. He obviously lost the Nexus as well. He still has the base over here, but in the meantime, TY obviously has not been slowing down. There they are. The yellow mining machines get dropped out of the high heavens. TY is going to be able to, well, get some of that mineral income. If you're a Protoss, close your eyes again, because this is going to skyrocket very quickly. The mineral income right there for the Terran player as those mules do kick in. Obviously, they will time out here eventually, but that's still a lot of additional resources that the Terran player is getting right now. Okay, so all of the weaker Terran mech units now essentially get replaced with much stronger ones. Yeah, there's still a couple of Hellions in there. I mean, you gotta spend your minerals one way or another, but he's slowly replacing the majority of them with much stronger units, right? In the meantime, for Protoss, Trap is actually gonna go up towards, I guess, triple robotics facility here. Really wants to start powering out those Immortals. They are absolutely key when it comes to fighting that late game army. He's already got some Storm in there as well. He's got a carrier. I wonder if you want to go for a mothership here. The thing about the mothership, obviously, is that it's very, very supply heavy. So going up to like, I think it's 8 supply, right? Going 8 supply into, yeah, into your army is quite a lot. It is very helpful, obviously, but Terrans will just scan you non-stop anyway. Vikings now also coming up, so Thors have insane anti-air. I guess it's not worth it. We'll see. Maybe he starts one up here in just a little bit. So what's the ultimate Protoss late-game army to go for here? I think a lot of Immortals makes a lot of sense. Immortals just simply do so much damage to armored units, and pretty much all of those units here are armored. The thing is, they kind of suck against Liberators and air units in general, right? They're not very good against Liberators, believe it or not. So you need something to deal with that as well. I don't think Stalkers are really going to be able to cut it, unless you have like really good micro. But Stalkers kind of feel like the they kind of feel like the Hellion Hellbat of Protoss in a way, right? Like you kind of want to have them early on, but you don't want to keep them around for too long necessarily either. You want to replace them as time goes by with something that's a little bit better. Now, the difference, obviously, is that the Stalkers do cost gas. And right now, yeah, the Hellions are trading here with the Stalkers. Trading minerals for gas is pretty much always a good choice in StarCraft. Okay, these High Templar are absolute key. Here are the Liberation Zones. There are the Big Papa Thors moving forward as well. Widow Mines, very helpful, especially against those Zealots that are trying to come in from every angle. Ooh, well, you know what? One of the, I think actually 2 of the High Templar there got picked off. The Thors in their high impact mode are going to be able to deal so much work, especially against those carriers. Once again, ooh, I was going to say, those High Temp are taking a little bit of damage. Nexus is gone, but a Protoss is now essentially setting up a 360 surround, trying his very best to wait for as long as possible. Okay, so here we go. Apparently he's pulling the trigger right now. Trap is going to move forward with all that he's got. The siege tanks will be picked off very, very quickly. Thors are going to take a tremendous amount of damage as well. The Widow Mines do connect really nicely, though. Most of the High Templar are gone. But once again, the Terran army has to retreat. Carriers, though. Carriers are such a funny unit, right? I feel like at low level play in StarCraft, at lower level, below 6k MMR, which is 99.9% of the player base, but at lower level, carriers are amazing. At higher level though, they really kind of lose their value because they're not microable like Tempest, right? You can't get more value out of them. You just sort of attack move them and then that's it, right? Which is great for lower level players, not so good for pro gamers though. Oh, oh god, those Archons dealing so much splash. Oh man, you do not want to attack the Archons with your SCVs. Trap now moving forward. He's now got the supply lead. For the very first time in a while, actually. He should really be harassing this base over here, too. I think a Trap already assumes that the base in the bottom right-hand corner has been taken. Breaking the planetary is going to be hard, but he can certainly do a lot of damage over here, and, well, the Stalkers have indeed arrived. Maybe I'm mistaken about the Stalkers. You don't want to go too ham on them. But you do want to still have a bunch of them available as well, because they can punish the opponent so hard, right? They're a mobile unit. They can really force the issue a lot of the time. Gonna be able to blink away, very nimble. And they can also set up engagements, right? Because oftentimes the opponent seems to overextend when it comes to chasing down the Stalkers. You can't really catch them anyway, but then you can engage with the rest of the Protoss army. Speaking of which, Trap right now is just simply gonna break through those supply depot walls. That's a lot of Liberators though. Yeah, get out of there. It's not gonna happen, buddy. Get out of there. And I'm starting to worry here a little bit for the anti-air. There's not that much anti-air available. More and more Liberators are constantly coming out. Stalkers are great and all, and they're still dealing a little bit of damage. Right now they're trying to catch up with the main force. But this army is mostly being killed right here. With the siege tanks now getting into position though, apparently this is the moment that he was waiting for. Stalkers actually dive in from the back. They end up sniping a couple of those Liberators, and you know what? Pretty much all of them are gone right now. Archon also helping out there. It does get picked off. Siege tanks once again siege up. This is a ridiculous game. Oh my god. Actually, the money that Terran has is starting to look pretty slim, right? There's not that much mining anymore. Well, I mean, there it is. It's so dirty. Stop it, man. It's oh, I forgot to macro. Okay, here we go. I got 3,000 income again. Ay. I've been playing StarCraft for a long time. This still kind of infuriates me. You know, for example with Protoss, if you forget the Chrono Boost, that's a shame. You're gonna have to wait. You can't just queue them up. With Zerg, you forget to inject, that's a shame. You'll get your larva, but it's gonna take you a minute. With Terran though, you drop a bunch of mules. Here's the income. Immediately. Obviously, it doesn't matter too much, but it's always kind of a bit ironic. Oh, well, you know what? This fight though is absolutely critical, yeah. There's not that much anti-air. The anti-air situation is becoming a problem. I really would love to see Tempests. I feel like Tempests would be amazing here. Relying primarily on Archons and then a High Templar and Stalkers for anti-air, I don't know if that's gonna cut it. The issue is, though, that there's not that much mining anymore for Trap. You can see Trap actually decided to not take the gas over here until right now. He's gonna need another expansion. He's only got 51 probes here, which is nothing to write home about. Nothing all too impressive. With additional Liberators, actually he's pretty happy with the amount that he's got right now. He's just got 6, but with additional Liberators, this is a very scary army to kill. Once again, a new base has been acquired. The yellow mining machines once more going to town. Liberators starting their slow push, opening up the opportunity right now as well for those siege tanks to roll on forward. A lot of damage is being dealt on the other side though. This is great. Nicely done there. Reducing the mining over here, but once again, I think it's gonna go at the cost of this Nexus. Holding this position over here seems nearly impossible for Terran or for Protoss against Mech. Yeah, I'm not sure. Once again, the Blue Flame Hellions. Hellbats right now. Move into the mineral line. Nexus is gonna be disappearing in a little bit, but at the same time, there was also the forced liftoff right there on the orbital command. Widow Mines once again burrow. They're gonna be able to kill a couple of these. Also, actually, a couple of their own SCVs. A little bit sad. Looks like the orbital though will live here for the time being. And well, while the Nexus is taking damage, it's gonna take a little while to kill it. I think it will probably go down as time goes by. few Hellions right now actually also found a newly acquired base here of Protoss. And where's that Protoss army? It's actually, like, the thing is, there's not that much anti-air. How are you gonna fight this? This is such an entrenched position. I love the addition of the Widow Mines here as well. Trap knows about all of this. He sees it and he's like, okay, I'm not even gonna try. I'm gonna try and see if I can do counterattack aggression instead, which I guess we'll do, you know, a little bit, but the base is once again landed already. It wasn't killed. And TY is gonna continue mining right over here, just rallying his reinforcements now to that base that was attacked earlier. Still, you gotta be careful, right? The Protoss army is growing. You can't sit out in the middle of the map for all too long, because then the Protoss sandwich is once again gonna happen. Apparently, it won't be quite the sandwich that we saw earlier. Still, though, good Widow Mine connections. All of these Immortals running dangerously low. No planetary fortress here on the high ground, so no anchor. But this entrenched position here for TY is going to be difficult to push into. I wouldn't even mind seeing like a planetary right over here. That would make it near impossible to break. Double planetary? I'm calling it right now, okay? That's going to be meta in 2020. Here we go. Big fight once again. The thing is, there's nothing really to shoot up. TY's economy has been superior for a very long time, and even though a lot of workers were killed right there by Trap as well, this game did go in favor of the Terran. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. A special shout out to the Patreon supporters. Thank you very much for the generosity. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you once again in the next one.